get this meeting started. I guess Mr. Greif isn't here, so, yeah. But the 100 people that normally come when he's here are not here, so.
You need a bigger entourage.
Wherever he is, they are. That's the thing. Actually, I hope we have a lot of non-controversial business. So at 1:03, I'd like to convene the meeting of the Jobs and Business Development Committee. Mr. Krikorian joins me, and I assume Mr. Parks is on his way up. So item number 1.
Item number 1 is a city attorney report relative to a draft ordinance that will revise a minimum tax threshold on film productions from $2.5 million to $5 million, with a change in the measure of the maximum tax to $9,245.
And I believe the person giving that report is right behind Mr. Parks. So maybe we should move on to item number 2.
All right. Item number 2 is a city attorney report relative to a draft ordinance amending Section 21.05 and Section 21.16 of the Los Angeles Municipal Code to clarify the periods for which businesses can be liable for business taxes.
Do we have any presenters on this item? We have Mel Cohn from BTAC who would like to present. Actually, Mel, these are all your cards, aren't they?
Yes. I can
Why don't you just pull up a chair and don't move. Pardon me? I'll tell you what, why don't we move to item number 3, and Mr. Cohn, you have a card on that, and I don't think we're waiting for the city attorney on that one, so we're going to move to item number 3.
Okay.
Item number 3 is an Office of Finance report relative to the Voluntary Disclosure Agreement Program.
Mr. Cohn.
Yes, Chairman Alarcon and Committee Member Corian, it's a pleasure to be here. Chair of BTAC, Lloyd Greif is on. Okay, thank you. Is not available today. He's traveling, so I'm here to represent BTAC on all the items. In particular, on item number 3, the Voluntary Disclosure Program. BTAC has unanimously supported this program. It was part of one of our subcommittee original reports we completed in March. We have reviewed the Office of Finance's report, and we concur with her report, as well as this was unanimously passed at BTAC. Thank you.
Is there any other testimony on this item? Committee members, any questions, answers? It would be my recommendation to adopt the finance report and request the city attorney in consultation with the Office of Finance to prepare an ordinance to provide the Office of Finance with the authority to establish the voluntary disclosure program.
Let me just ask one thing. I think when we discussed this at council, there was some discussion about the 8-year versus unlimited. Did that ever get resolved? Look back. That's on the chart on page 2. I thought we asked for a report back on that.
My staff over is Marissa. The question from Mr. Parks is regarding the 8-year look-back period.
For item 3?
Yeah.
I understand that Office of Finance is on their way up. They are stuck in an elevator.
Whoa.
With the city attorney. Oh, no, the city attorney made it.
So
I thought
we can come back.
I just thought we asked that it go to BTAC or ask for a report back or something, because it was discussed at length in council, I thought.
I'm not, I remember I remember raising the concern, but I don't remember exactly why. What was, do you recall what
I remember
what
is
the
that we
concern
trying
was?
to figure out if you have a business that basically that fails to comply, why you would limit.
Oh, it was Mr. Krikorian who
Why would you
raised
limit
this
it to
issue.
8 years as opposed to everyone else is unlimited? I think that was the discussion. And I thought we gave it to somebody to come back and report on.
Yes, do you recall that discussion?
I'm sorry, I just walked in. I apologize.
then you may or may not. The question is with regard to the look-back period, we're looking at changing it from 8 years to 5 years, and Mr. Parks was recalling, I remember some discussion, I believe it was Mr. Krikorian, that took issue with businesses that were not in compliance. Why were we, well, I don't,
If I recall, it was businesses that had not filed. That
Had-
had not-
Yeah, this is a
Right.
different category, not,
Right, that was my...
ones that were in business but failed to file.
Correct,
Yeah,
yeah, which I think is outside the scope of what we're talking about here.
yeah,
is-
I think that's probably closer to item two that,
Yeah.
but I was just wondering on that, did that get resolved?
I'm still waiting for the elevator to arrive. Take your time. I mean, if you could look at page, I'll tell you what, if you look at the page 2 of 4, maybe it'll jog your memories.
We're on item 3.
You're on item 3?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, the VDP.
We're asking you to remember because obviously we do
We
not
just have
remember.
We apologize for coming in late, sorry.
It's probably more related to item 2, but when we were discussing this in council about businesses that were in play that failed to register or pay their taxes, of whether we should have an 8-year or unlimited, and we're trying to figure out what was the direction to look at that.
The discussion that I recall, there were a couple of discussions. There was one discussion that was brought up in council regarding an unlimited look-back for taxpayers that were not registered and had previously not registered with the Office of Finance. The second area of discussion had to do with a voluntary disclosure program that would provide a look-back period, which we were recommending of 5 years, for taxpayers that are not registered that voluntarily come forward to seek compliance. And then the third area of discussion that the council entered into was a discussion concerning Finance's recommendation that taxpayers that substantially underreport their gross receipts be subject to a longer look-back period than the proposed 3-year look-back that BTAC had advanced.
Okay, now, did we send that to Finance to look into those 3 items? What was the direction?
The direction regarding the substantial underreporting look-back period, this committee, as well as council, sent that back to BTAC for BTAC to report back to Jobs Committee.
Okay, have we gotten that back?
Yes, BTAC waived opining on it and agreed with Office of Finance.
This is only a substantial report.
Yeah.
So what-
No, we eventually agreed to both of the look-backs.
Let me just clarify here. Now, this is dealing with the substantial underreporting of a taxpayer. Right now, what's being proposed is a 3-year statute of limitation whereby the city can go back and collect on what's owed.
Correct.
And so the statute limitation limits it to 3 years. But one of the things that we had proposed is we would agree to that, but we would want to be able to have the ability to go back further than 3 years if a taxpayer substantially underreports or understates their taxable measures.
That's correct.
So BTAC is in support of that?
Yes.
Okay.
But no, there's
And I forget which date. This was a while ago
Okay.
that we had agreed to that.
Okay, so in that regard,
Correct, Marissa?
so that should be part of number 2, right?
yes, it should be part of number 2. If BTAC agreed to it, then it should be, the ordinance that's being proposed in number 2 should be amended to allow for that. But I don't recall it being.
Okay, we were on item number 3, I want to be clear.
We'll go, yeah, all right, we'll, when we get to 2 then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe everything's in order on item number 3, and my stated recommendation remains. Did the city clerk get that?
Yeah.
Okay, so is that the motion? Mr. Parks
Yeah, that-
moves, and the Committee concurs? So that matter is approved. Let's go back to item number 1.
Item number 1 is a city attorney report relative to a draft ordinance that will revise the minimum tax threshold on film productions from $2.5 million to $5 million, with a change in the measure of the maximum tax to $9,245.
Okay, City Attorney.
Deputy City Attorney Dan Whitley, good afternoon. The measures before you, we have the amendment to 21109C. It does change the cap from 2.5 million to 5 million. And the maximum tax is $9,245.
Okay, we've had some public testimony on it, and the ordinance seems to comply with the intent of the council. So with that, I would like, first of all, we have a card from Mel Cone. Mr. Cone? On item number 1.
BTAC had unanimously approved as a motion to support the raising the base from 2.5 to 5 million. And since your last meeting, when the CLA's office brought to everyone's attention that the ceiling was also affected because of the way the ordinance calculates the tax, so much per thousand over the base, BTAC concurs with the CLA's opinion and supports this motion. We believe very strongly that it's part of business tax, attracting business, and the nature of the entertainment industry and the amount of jobs and other expendables to other vendors that production companies bring. We think this is a very important piece of tax reform, and BTAC supports this motion.
Okay, we have one other speaker, Maya Zitler.
Good afternoon, Maya Zutler on behalf of VICA, Valley Industry and Commerce Association. VICA has been on the record supporting the entertainment and production cap, and we would like to do so again today. We feel that even with the change in the thresholds, we believe that this committee should support the production cap as it stands and move it forward to council. We believe that this would really help to spur the creation of jobs here in Los Angeles, and we hope that you will support it today. Thank you.
Okay, we have no more cards on that issue. So Mr. Krikorian moves. Oh, we have a question for Mr. Parks.
Yes. One thing, let me ask this CLA and Finance. I think when I first reviewed this, I was aware of removing the threshold to 2.5 to 3. Until I read the notes today, I didn't know we were lowering the cap. Oh.
Excuse me, Marissa. No, item number 3 is already done. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know that we were lowering the cap from 12 to 9. And in doing that, it looks like what I thought we were doing is for the smaller businesses that they were going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 400,000, but from 5 to the max, they're going to get an even larger rate of something like 600,000. So that means between this ordinance, we're removing about 1/3 of the business tax in this category and moving it out of the general fund.
Yes. The proposal had always been to move it from 2.5 to 5 million on the low end.
I remember that.
And as a mathematical function of the way this tax is set up.
Yeah, the 130 up to 12.
From 5 to up to 12. It was necessary to either change the maximum tax paid or the basis for the maximum tax. So you either had to change to lower the 12,000 down to 9,245, or you had to move the basis of 12.5 up to 14.5. And it was the committee and the council's instruction to the city attorney to lower the maximum tax down to $9,245, knowing that that would result in the $1 million reduction in business tax revenues in this category, and that every production would be receiving that 3,000, all of those productions would be receiving basically 3,000 plus in reduction.
When we discussed it in council, did the top max and the impact on the general fund, was that part of the discussion?
I don't believe anyone in council asked any questions on that matter.
Because again, I remember the 2.5 to 5.
Yeah.
But I didn't remember we were doing the max. And I have a concern that I know we're trying to help
the small
movie business, but I thought this was concentrating on the smaller companies to give them, the threshold was moving from 2.5 to 5, which is about $400,000 worth of city business tax.
Yeah, let me respond in this way. The matter came before us at the request of the independent producers, and so they typically represent the folks in the category of 2.5 to 5 million. But one of the reasons I supported this was because I wasn't particularly focused on the independent producers, but what was best for the industry as a whole. And so the people in the categories above 5 million that would get some small benefit by comparison to the size of their productions support it, because they view this as a very positive message to the entire industry. I believe Mr. Wickham explained this in committee, but it wasn't brought up in the council.
Okay. I just have a concern about the 1 million and the 600,000 going to the bigger companies.
No, again, this is based on what has been a consistent belief by the vast majority of council, including yourself, that an investment in the film production industry is going to generate more revenue by virtue of getting more business back to LA and stemming runaway production. I mean, so that's the theory, and I hope it bears out. I understand your concern, Mr. Chair of Budget Committee.
One of my theories is that the movie business is very fickle, and they will be in Atlanta at the same time they get a better deal. And so they go wherever the deal is at the moment. And so they want a date. They don't like to marry. And so but again, I'll vote for it. I just was not familiar with the last part of it.
Yeah. Okay, then with that, Mr. Krikorian moves, and the committee concurs with unanimous support. So item number 2 is approved. Item number 1, is approved. Keep jumping back and forth. Okay, so now we can move to item number 2.
Item number 2 is a city attorney report relative to a draft ordinance amending section 21.05 and section 21.16 of the Los Angeles Municipal Code to clarify the periods for which businesses can be liable for business taxes.
Okay, city attorney again, I believe.
Good afternoon again, Deputy City Attorney Dan Whitley. Before you have an amendment to section 2116 and section 2105. What this amendment will do is put a limitation on the ability of the Office of Finance to make assessments. This has already been before council once. This is back here for an amendment to 2116A1B, which deals with untimely filed business tax returns. The amendment will have the limitation on the Office of Finance's ability to make an assessment begin to run from when the untimely business return is filed.
Okay, Mr. Cohn, you previously explained in item number 3, I think it was, that BTAC now concurs with the 8-year look-back period for those who have not registered and do not come forward voluntarily.
Yeah, in reviewing our original recommendations, we felt that we shouldn't opine on that and should leave what is in number 2 here. So
Okay.
BTAC agrees with the report.
Okay. let's see. We have no other cards on this matter. Are there any questions from committee
I think
members?
I'm still unclear. You agreed that 8 years are unlimited. That's what
I think
don't-
that the 8 years is clear. I think the question that is outstanding is relative to the substantial underreporting
Yeah.
and omissions, where we would be provided the opportunity to go back further than the 3-year
You
statute.
could only do that through audit.
And
Yes.
just to make clear, there is no provision in this ordinance at all right now for substantial underreporting. We were not given any direction to add anything about that to 2116 at all.
Yeah. The thing is, again, I just want to make we're clear that 8 years, everybody agrees on.
We're fine. Office of Finance is fine with that.
I would just like to make a motion that we deal with that underreporting, because I think we discussed it, but I don't think we gave any direction on it.
Okay.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the Jobs Committee directed the Business Tax Advisory Committee to look at that and report back to Jobs. And the report back, I don't believe, has been submitted to Jobs as of yet.
But let me ask the city attorney, are you saying that with regard to substantial underreporting, there is no provision to look beyond 8 years?
There's nothing at all, correct, there's nothing about that in this ordinance. We weren't directed to add that.
Okay, so Department of Finance would like to be able to look beyond 8 years?
What we would like to do is actually to be able to go beyond the 3-year period, which is what's being proposed in the current ordinance, to limit the number of years that the Office of Finance could actually go back and perform audits. And so we want to be able to, if a taxpayer substantially underreports or omits its taxable measures, that we would be provided the opportunity to go back. And we had mentioned at one of the Jobs Committee meetings that the Internal Revenue Service actually they have that authority to do so if it's found that it's 25% or more omission or underreporting, that they can go back an unlimited period of time. And that is something that we would recommend, and actually we did recommend, but the Jobs Committee directed BTAC to go back and take a look at it. I don't believe that the Business Tax Advisory Committee is in agreement with that. But we believe it's important because the business tax is a self-reporting tax, and it's not until you actually go and do the audit that you...
I actually don't even want to discuss the merits of it. I just want to know where we stand. Currently, this ordinance does not include a category for substantially underreporting.
Absolutely correct.
So therefore, the question is, should the Department of Finance encounter one of these cases, can they act on it?
They would have to act under their current assessment period, which is 3 years from the due date of the return.
Okay, and for okay, so that's different than the 8 years. So you understand that if we pass this, then you don't have a category for substantial underreporting.
Right.
Yes, sir, but I guess I'm just only reporting that there is an outstanding report from the Business Tax Advisory Committee to address the substantial underreporting, because the committee wanted to get BTAC's input on that.
Okay, so should we choose to implement a substantial underreporting, we have to go through the whole process again, right? You'd have to rewrite the ordinance again?
Well, there's two options. One is we could rewrite the ordinance now, and I could make an amendment as directed, and it would go through our review process. Hopefully we could do that quickly, but we're in the middle of trying to get the ballot measures done, so I don't anticipate this would happen before, probably after Thanksgiving. The other option is to pass this now, and then you could direct me today through motion to try and draft an amendment to it. So
How long would that
those are the
take?
two options.
How would that
the
take?
amendment take? Is that
Excuse me?
How long would that take?
amendment?
Well, as I said, our office is somewhat overwhelmed right now dealing with other items. It shouldn't take me very long. This is something I've been thinking about and working on.
What is very long?
I wish I could give you a better answer than that. I would hope it'd be before, Christmas. But right now we have Thanksgiving is coming up. I know we won't get to it before then because of other items that we're working on. And then between Thanksgiving and Christmas is always a rush because of the holidays.
But
So-
you couldn't, I mean, is it that complicated? You couldn't get it at the time it comes to council, as far as the amendment?
I wish I could give you a better answer than the answer I have just given you. I will try and get it done as quickly as I
I
can.
mean, because what would it, I mean, it's like a sentence?
It would be a sentence roughly the size of just paragraph B that you see before you. But it does have to go through our approval process, and I believe it would have to come back here for review first, and then go to council.
And if I may, in defense of attorneys everywhere, surgery is just a cut, too. It's knowing what the sentence does and what impacts it has and so on. So I don't think this is something we want to rush into and then try and figure out what, unanticipated impacts it had by simply rushing in a sentence. I think we ought to if we're going to do this, we can either move forward with this ordinance now and then do an amending ordinance later, or we should wait and give the city attorney long enough to analyze and finance and everybody, us, the opportunity to assess what the impacts of this will be as well. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, maybe I'm the only one that's unclear on this, but is this intended to be the comprehensive ordinance dealing with these look-back periods? Because I'm reading it and I don't see the 8-year period, and even that wasn't satisfactory to me in dealing with the scofflaw non-filers. So am I misreading this? Maybe you can walk me through that part.
Okay. This is the ordinance that deals with the look-back periods. There's no 8-year period in here. I missed the discussion about the 8-year period, so I'm not sure what that refers
Well,
to.
but the problem is
exactly.
that's contained in the report on item number 3. We have an 8-year look-back period applicable for non-filed returns. If you look on the chart that we have in the report.
And if you look at page 2 of the city attorney's
Okay. All right.
cover letter on paragraph 2, page 2, it mentions the 8-year.
That's an entirely different period than the look-back periods to make an assessment. Under 2119, there's a limitation on the amounts we can collect. So no matter when the Office of Finance makes the assessment, they can only collect for 8 years of a taxpayer's liability under 2119.
Under existing law?
Under Section 2119.
Okay.
That's not affected by the assessment dates. There's 2 different dates. So there might be a taxpayer that they're going to make an assessment for 8 separate tax periods, 8 separate tax years, but 2116A will limit the time in which they can make that assessment.
If I could.
2116 or 19?
2116.
So essentially, you're saying that there was no need to incorporate specific language in this action ordinance because it's it would never be more than 8 years based on other provisions.
2119 limits it to 8 years,
Yeah.
as far as the total amount that can be collected against one
Okay.
taxpayer.
Right. If I may, just to be clear, 2119A, in terms of the 8-year look-back, is only applicable to taxpayers that are not registered, that are not known to the Office of Finance. The ordinance which City Attorney has drafted applies to taxpayers that are registered, that are known to the Office of Finance, and that either file a renewal timely or file a renewal that is delinquent. So we're talking about 2 different applications of the law and distinct different types of taxpayers. What Office of Finance is proposing is that the ordinance drafted by City Attorney encompass both those taxpayers that are known to the City of Los Angeles and either file timely or delinquent returns, or that are known to the city and substantially underreport. We believe that it has the ability to negatively impact ongoing audits if both of those issues are not addressed at the same time.
So is there some conversation before this meeting between you guys? I mean, why are you bringing this matter to us? Was there a conversation between the 2 of you?
We did have a
And what was so what is the debate? I mean, is there another position to that you didn't want to do that? You didn't see us instructing you to do that? What's the issue?
I think there is an issue, but there's, what we were instructed to do was address the look-back periods, not to address 2119, which is a separate issue. And we didn't have an instruction about the substantial underreporting requirement, which we're happy to address.
And sir, if I could just add, the reason there was no instruction is because there's an outstanding report that your committee directed the Business Tax Advisory Committee to come back and address the omissions and underreporting, and that's why it wasn't included in the city attorney's draft ordinance. We did raise it as a matter of question because we are concerned about that, and so we are bringing it to your attention.
What would the Department of Finance like us to do with this ordinance?
We would prefer that it be addressed in the ordinance and come back with everything included, as opposed to approving it now and then having it amended later.
Now, the only ones that would be, if we move this forward, all the businesses that are not in that category under BTAC's report, the report that they're supposed to submit to us, they would not get any benefits from this. But all the businesses that are essentially coming forward, that we want to come forward, would be affected by this.
Well, I think if you move it
It's
forward,
sort of, maybe this is not the best metaphor, but it's sort of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
well, actually, I mean, if businesses are complying and paying their taxes properly, there's no impact to them at all, sir. It's only when there's an audit that's conducted, if we find that they substantially underreported their tax measures, we would be limited to 3 years as to which the city can collect. And so it's really, it really impacts businesses who have substantially underreported their taxable measures. If we move it forward in the current form, what that really means is that our audits, we would be limited to 3 years until an amendment takes place, and there is likely a revenue impact associated with that, sir.
And right now, you're not limited?
Right now, we can go back beyond the 3 years.
But when is BTAC going to be getting us that report?
I can't give you a date, but it would be very soon.
Would it be
Because we have the
would it
next
be
meeting
sooner if
23rd.
would it be sooner if we didn't pass this?
No,
No?
no, because we just have to address it. So it's where you want to pass this and come back with another motion, but BTAC does agree it is an issue where there is material underreporting.
Are you likely?
There should be criteria set similar to the other taxing agencies.
Which we agree.
Are you? The Department of Finance has indicated that they don't expect support from BTAC on their position, or can you clarify that?
I didn't say that, sir.
Oh,
I said that I believe there was a discussion about it, and I'm not certain. I think Mr. Cohn would need to go back and speak to at his particular committee, but I believe there was some discussion about it, and I thought they did not agree to it. I'm not certain. I think that's a question for BTAC, sir.
So that's my question to BTAC. Are they likely to?
Yes, I will discuss it with BTAC, with Chairman Greif and our subcommittee, and we'll get back to you. And we should be able to get back to you by our next BTAC meeting, which is the 23rd, I believe.
Well, I mean, I'm inclined to just hold this until the next. When you said that the next meeting is when?
The next BTAC meeting is the 23rd of November.
And what's our next meeting? The same day.
That's it.
Is yours in the evening, or?
I hope not. Let me just confirm that. There is a BTAC meeting, so we can talk with our chairman about that being a conflict with this committee's meeting then.
Why don't we just hold this entire matter until December 14th? And we'll get your report back, and hopefully we'll have some concurrence. Otherwise, we'll just make a decision. So we would want your report, and then if you could work with BTAC to
Absolutely.
see if you can refine your arguments so that when it comes forward, actually before it comes forward, that we can know what the different arguments are.
I was wondering, could we ask the city attorney to give us both options on the ordinance by the 14th? We have option one.
What do you mean by both? You mean an option without?
Well, we have option one without the substantial compliance. Can you give us the second ordinance that would include that, so that if, depending on what direction, we'd have the ordinance by the 14th?
I will have to check and make sure we can do that, given that if you move to ask us to draft it, I will make sure we can do that, and if so, then I will.
Very helpful if we had both options.
Yeah, I will try to, if that complies with the Brown Act and with the charter, then I will do that.
Okay, if the city attorney would make every effort to do that, then we need the Department of Finance to work with the city attorney to get the information necessary to them, and at the same time, pass that on to BTAC. Now, BTAC is going to go at this without the advantage of having that in writing, so I hope we get it right when we give them the information. If we hear this matter and we include, on December 14th, we decide to include a provision for substantial underpayment, then if there is a draft ordinance, we should be fine. If there isn't a draft ordinance, then is there a way we can just send it to City Council and have it catch up when it gets to City Council?
I believe it can be waived. I will double check and give you advice on that.
Okay, thank you. Please do that. And that way we can catch up sometime in late December.
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll make every effort to make sure that happens.
Thank you. So is this really a statement about ballot measures and the number of them? But it's a facetious question. Anyway, if we can move on, then we'll hold this matter until December 14th. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, when it does come back, I'm going to want to see and understand very clearly this differentiation between the non-filing businesses and the filing businesses, and why one ordinance applies to one set and another to another. I'd like to see that very clearly, because that continues to be a significant concern of mine, that we're giving any break to scofflaw businesses that aren't filing. So that continues to be my concern.
Councilman John Wickham, CLA. It's my recollection that the council gave instructions to the city attorney regarding that matter already. And so I think one thing we'll do by the time this ordinance comes back is verify the council action on that. I believe it was the unlimited look back on the scofflaws was approved by council. We'll verify that, and we'll make sure that comes back.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, Mel Wilson, we have a card. Do you want to waive that since we're continuing this matter, or was there something else you wanted to add? No, it doesn't matter. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Mel Wilson. I'm a small business owner. And
just want to clarify, we're still on item number 2. We're still on item number 2.
Okay.
He wanted public comment. Yes.
This is just general comments. Name is Mel Wilson. I own a business here in the city of Los Angeles. I'm also a member of BTAC. And I just wanted to express some of my thoughts about the process that we're going through so far. First of all, I would like to commend the three of you, Councilman Krikorian, Councilman Alarcon, Councilman Parks, for your leadership. The city is hemorrhaging because we don't have enough jobs. And as a small business person, you often hear about all the relief that's happening, but really we don't see a lot of relief for small businesses, which are really traditionally been the greatest creators of jobs. And so as a member of BTAC, I look at your challenges, which is having a shrinking revenue from the business tax that we've had in past years, and at the same time trying to balance how do we incentivize businesses to create jobs, get jobs to be retained, and get companies to come back here. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for all of you, and we recognize that. And also, dealing with it from the BTAC point of view, as a member of the committee since its inception, or at least this new reform committee, it's been a little bit frustrating for me as a member of BTAC, and I think some of my colleagues as well. There are times when we're constrained with issues like, the Commerce Clause, the issue of, there needs to be a fiscal impact on a matter before it gets up to your level. And at the same time, it seems like there are times when your body makes recommendations for policy issues and things get moved much quicker. So it's a little bit frustrating for us and I can speak for myself as a member of BTAC. That being said, I would like to commend the staff, the CLA's office, the City Attorney's Office, the Office of Finance, for the work that they're doing, given that they have shrinking staffing, they have furloughs and the like. So we know it's very difficult, but we just want to remind you that there are a couple of things that we really like to see you do. One, we'd like to see you support finding the funds that are required for us to complete the study. Our time is going to be sunsetting pretty quick, and we'd like to be able to know what we can recommend to you from the business community's point of view as to what types of policies you could adopt that would do what you're ultimately trying to do, which is what we're all trying to do. So those are my comments, and I just want to thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have one more matter before us, and that's item number 4.
Item number 4 is an Office of Finance report relative to the Offer and Compromise Program.
Mr. Cohen, you can please step forward again. Department of Finance, please, don't leave. It's the same people for all 4 items. So first, Department of Finance.
Okay. This particular report is a report that was actually directed by Council as well as the Business Tax Advisory Committee to implement an Offer and Compromise program that would allow a business who is experiencing a financial hardship to have a way to settle their tax liability. And so what the Office of Finance did, we looked at what other taxing agencies have in place, the Franchise Tax Board and the Internal Revenue Services. Those 2 agencies were agencies that were addressed by BTAC that Finance should consider in its development of its program. And as a result of that, we have a program that we are proposing to move forward. We hope to have it in place this month, provided that it's approved by Council. This really is just to provide a status report as to where we are. We have developed frequently asked questions and other information that the taxpayer would need to come forward and complete. One of the things that we are doing, which is a little different from other taxing agencies, is that if a business taxable measures is $1 million or less, they would not have to complete a full scope of documents for our office to review, because we believe small businesses really should not have to provide as much information. They probably don't have a lot of the information anyway. And so, and in addition to that, the amount of effort that it would require on Office of Finance's side due to limited resources, it would probably cost us more money to process something for a small business versus a business whose gross taxable measures are $1 million and greater. One of the things that we're asking is that if the taxpayer comes forward, that they would need to pay $150, which would be applied towards their outstanding liability, whether the offer is accepted or not. And this particular program applies only to business taxes and not the other trust fund taxes, such as the parking and occupancy, hotel tax, and telephone tax.
That was actually one of my questions. Why wouldn't we include those?
Because the difference is that the hotel tax, parking tax, and the telephone tax are taxes that the providers are collecting on behalf of the city, as opposed to the business tax, which is a tax that the business is actually paying based on the business conducting their operations in the city of LA. So the difference is it's really trust fund money, as I call it, that the providers, the parking lot operators, the hotel operators, and the telephone providers are actually collecting the tax from their customers and remitting it to the city of Los Angeles, as opposed with the business tax. The business is actually paying the tax based on the gross receipts that they incurred, that they earned rather, for the year.
You said the telephone tax, the utility users tax?
Yes, the utility users tax, which includes telephone, electric, and gas.
Okay, now, so this is an existing program. This was just an informational report. There's no action before us.
Right, it's a new program that was
Okay.
adopted in the budget by council and mayor for
Okay,
this
great.
fiscal year. And it was one that Office of Finance included as a budget proposal when we submitted our budget for this fiscal year. And so this really is a status report that we were required to.
So how's it going?
Well, it's, we're planning to put it into place this month, provided there aren't
okay.
any issues. And also BTAC, the Business Tax
So far,
Advisory
so
Committee.
good.
Yes. The Business Tax Advisory Committee also recommended a similar program, and so we want to give them credit for that as well.
Okay, great. Mr. Cohen, for public comment?
Thank you, Chairman Alicon. My name is Mel Cohn. I'm here today on behalf of the Business Tax Advisory Committee, BTAC. BTAC supports the Offer and Compromise program as well as the previously agenda item number 3, the Voluntary Disclosure Program. We believe two things. One, both programs are taxpayer equity relevant. And two, as not necessarily as a side measure, but really, we believe this can also accelerate revenue to the city. BTAC's background, in the beginning months of BTAC, we had a seminar with the Big Four accounting firms, what we call the SALT group, and both the Voluntary Disclosure Program and the Offer and Compromise, they felt were tools that they could take advantage with their clients so they could come forward and also accelerate tax matters to come to conclusion and to get payment to the city. So BTAC supports this program. We unanimously voted for it and look forward to being it implemented.
Okay, we want to take another look at this when the program is implemented. How long do you think before we'll get some information?
We're hoping to be able to move it forward and provide a status report. So
No, but I mean, do you think compromise is going to rush to the door, or I'm trying to get a sense when we will want to review this, in 6 months, or?
Yeah, I think a status report in 6 months in terms of where we are with the program. As I indicated, we're going to be rolling it out this month unless there are any issues or concerns.
Okay, then,
it is supported by BTAC.
We'll just keep this matter in the committee and have a report back in about 6 months.
Or you could report and file, and we can provide a status in 6 months, because this is just a status report.
Okay, we can do that.
I was just going to make a suggestion. Is it possible when you get ready, the week you kick it off, you can come to council and tell the council in Channel 35 that this is a program?
Well, we're prepared to do that when it goes to council. I think if you refer this to council, we can talk about it at that point, sir, because we're ready to roll it out.
Close proximity to when it starts.
We're ready to roll it out any day. As soon as, today, we can roll it out today. We wanted to get full council approval on the status of the report. It was actually adopted by council.
How quickly will this go to council?
We can schedule next Friday. We can schedule.
Not this Friday, but the following Friday. Okay, that gives us reasonable time to do some press on it and stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so let's target, what date is that?
That's I think it's the 19th.
Okay, the 19th, and the council meeting, we'll try to get this on the agenda for the council meeting on the 19th, and that way you can present that information to the public
Okay.
and all the millions of people that watch Channel 35.
Okay, and the Business Tax Advisory Committee would be there too. I hope, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we will recommend note and file of this item. No public comment cards remain, so this meeting is adjourned.
I have one public comment card.
Pardon me?
I have a public comment.
Oh, did you want to say something?
Yes, I turned in a card.
Oh, if I have it, I'm sorry.
This will be,
You know what, I passed it, I'm sorry. Yes, we do. Mr. Cohen on public comment.
yes. Chairman, I am here on behalf of the Business Tax Advisory Committee to communicate a discussion at our last meeting. We had been asked to prepare a communication regarding Council File Number 092476, which dealt with the city attorney and the BOR decisions, that if a previous decision had been made by the BOR, that it could not be overturned unless the circumstances changed. I know it isn't on agenda today, but we would like to have some input for when it is discussed in the future, because in the report there were several items that BTAC would like to have changed. I just wanted to call that to your attention. You don't have it in front of you today, but we rushed to get it done, and unfortunately because of the schedule today, it was unable to be heard. But we think it's very important because there are some conflicts regarding what the city attorney has communicated to you and BTAC's feelings. So we would like the opportunity to discuss it when it's brought up, hopefully at the next meeting.
We're frankly not able to discuss it as it's not part of the agenda.
Right.
But we do have a copy of the letter submitted, and we'll make every effort to get it on the next meeting.
Yeah, we appreciate it because we feel it's very important since the BOR decisions are coming up. And just as a note from BTAC, again, as Mr. Wilson said, we appreciate the effort that Jobs Development is in dealing with the city business tax reform proposals made by BTAC and working with us to work through them. So we want to thank all of you. And we also want to thank staff assigned, Marissa. We appreciate having someone we can liaison with immediately.
I don't think any of us anticipated how different the model would be when we're implementing things as we go. But it actually creates much more burden on BTAC. But it helps us get to action much quicker as well. And Mr. Wilson, and your comments, I think, are well received by this committee. We understand that it's more difficult to produce many reports on a variety of items that emerge than to do one complete report at the end of 18 months, which was the model we used last time. Nevertheless, I think we've done a lot of things that we wouldn't have done, and it's needed now. So if we can get our arms around, maybe we can figure out a way that we can have a working group to see if we can get our arms around some of the issues and target more strategically the items that we're going to be moving forward and put them on some kind of schedule. So I'm happy to work with you as the chair of this committee to try and accommodate those concerns.
And just one final comment. We are driven because we have a statutory life of 18 months, and we really want to see things implemented while we're still providing the information to this committee. And
Well,
we're driven by
I thought this was a lifelong appointment, but
it just feels like it. But no, we're very serious about that. That we have 18 months, we've made a lot of recommendations, and we want to assist in any way with this committee to help implement, either go forward or not go forward, but at least make the changes that you want, which we feel are beneficial to the city, dealing with the tax and also raising revenue.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned officially now.